We are following breaking news right now. Madison police responding to a shooting near La Follette High School. We have live coverage from the scene today at noon.
This is News 3 at noon.
And Madison police are responding to reports of a gunshot victim near La Follette High School. We have live coverage of the school. Right now, we're going to head out to the scene where police are providing an update. Here's police spokesperson Joel Despain.
Detectives are here. You see them behind me. Before we went on air here, they've discovered that there are a number of bullet casings in the roadway, so you can see that they're putting numbers down to indicate where those casings are. So we don't believe that there's a general threat to this area because of what took place, because the person who's involved took off. Again, this appears to be people who know each other, who were involved in some sort of dispute. We're still working on that. And one of those people who was involved in that dispute decided they were going to pull out a gun and start shooting. So we've got a 16-year-old who was shot. Going to be okay. He's going to get out of the hospital pretty soon. We have a very shaken driver who happened to be coming through this area, who fortunately didn't have someone in the passenger seat of their vehicle, or that person may well be deceased at this point. So I think, as everyone knows, we are struggling as a community and as a police department with young people with guns who are finding it a way to resolve their differences, to shoot at each other, and they do so many times, as we see right now, in nice neighborhoods where people are taking care of their gardens and their homes, and there's other children walking to school or coming to school. So again, we're just fortunate right now that no one was seriously hurt, but again, I think anyone who's looking at the scene, seeing the car behind us, realizes that this easily could have been a homicide that took place this morning.
Do you believe that the young people involved today, including the shooting victim and the shooter, do you believe they came over here from somewhere nearby like La Follette High School?
That's something we're still working on right now, is to see where they had been, where they were coming from, where they were going. We're getting some conflicting stories, frankly, from some of those who were out here in the street as far as those who were involved in this dispute. So until we have that worked out, I really can't tell you for certain where they were coming from or where they were going or what this dispute was about.
And Joel, you're live on News 3, and I know that this is about a block away from La Follette High School. Talk about the added difficulty or stressors with this being so close to students.
But we right away recommended to the school district that La Follette and nearby Senate middle schools be locked down. They were. I think for parents who may be watching this, again, this didn't take place at any of our schools. It took place in a residential neighborhood, and we think it took place between people who know each other. So we don't think there was any general risk to the students at either of the nearby schools. That being said, as we've just been talking about, anytime we have someone firing a gun in an area where there are a lot of young people, a lot of people living, it's extremely dangerous, and we're just lucky, and I'm just re-emphasizing this, because if you take a look at that passenger window, if somebody had been in that passenger seat, whether it was somebody's wife or their child going to school, that person very well could be dead. Fortunately, the person who was shot, who we believe was an intended victim that he was being shot at, suffered a non-life-threatening wound and will be released from the hospital.
And all the people involved still at large, being talked to by police? What's their status?
Well, we do not have the shooter at this time, and there may be others who were with the shooter. So at this time, we have some of those who were with the victim, and we have the victim, obviously, because he's in the hospital. So, and they're providing us some information, but at this point, it's not completely consistent information, and so we're trying to vet that right now.
Has this been a trouble spot in the past? Have there been recent calls for service here? Anything on the order of violence like this?
Not in this neighborhood here. I mean, this is a very tranquil place, as you can see. I think people know that we've had a couple of gun issues at schools recently, including a gun that went off inside a Metro bus in the past 10 days. And so fortunately in that case, we had someone who again suffered a non-life-threatening injury, and in that case we believe it was someone who had brought a gun onto the bus but was not intending to shoot someone. But certainly this could happen in any of our neighborhoods, near any of our schools or parks. We just have a lot of young people who are deciding that they can go around with guns and shoot. And until we can stop that mentality, I think that, we have risk to our communities. And we as a police department are working on it. I know the schools are working on it. A lot of good organizations are out there working on it too, but we have to change this mentality.
What's the status of the school? All clear?
Yeah, at this point, I believe, and I would recommend that you check with the schools, but we do not believe that there's any imminent risk to the schools. Now, whether they're still on lockdown, that's up to them. But again, we believe the person responsible for this particular act of gun violence has left the area.
Has left the area, would not be returning to some place proximate like a high school or a middle school.
And again, we don't know for certain where that person is going, but we believe they have left this area. And so this was not a threat to either of the nearby schools or the general student body. This was a dispute between young people that are acquainted with one another, and it took place near the schools, but not at the schools.
Joe, as you can probably see behind me, people are really angry, upset. We've talked to some people that said that teenagers converge here all the time, doing fights or smoking pot, walking down the street or anything. Has the police department heard of this activity? And
I'd have to check on that. We have a educational resource officer who works at La Follette High School. I'd have to check with him. I'm not aware of serious calls that come to my attention, but that doesn't mean that there aren't fights and other disputes that may have taken place in this area. So anytime we get areas near schools, some of the issues that take place in the schools can spill out into neighborhoods. And sometimes there are people who are not associated at all with the schools who end up getting into disputes with people who may be walking from the school and going somewhere else, but the people who are committing the violence are not students. So at this point, in this case, we don't know for sure. But obviously this neighborhood is very close to the school, so certainly they could have seen some issues because of trouble that spilled out of the school and onto this street or in others nearby.
My last question, has this become a problem area? Are Madison police responding to this area more?
I would have to check with the East District Command staff before I make any firm statement on that. I'm not aware from the job that I do that these streets have come up in terms of a serious issue that would warrant a news release. But whether or not they've had other minor level crimes, if you will, that are quality of life type issues, I would have to check and make sure before I said anything in terms of whether or not they've had issues in this particular neighborhood.
All right. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
And there you have it, Joel Despain with the Madison Police Department just giving us an update on this shooting here at Linda Vista Road and Turner Avenue. To recap, at around 10:40 a.m., a fight turned into a shooting. One teen injured with non-life-threatening injuries after a shooting. Neighbors in this area saying that this is becoming a consistent problem. They called it a, quote, fight club. Here is what one woman had to say about her experience of hearing those shots this morning.
I heard gunshots and I hit the floor in my house. And, it's very scary because you don't know where the stray bullets are going to go. One stray bullet hit this poor man's SUV and he was just driving through the intersection. I saw him go through the intersection because I'm in front of my picture window. And then to find out that he actually got hit going through the intersection, I'm shocked, horrified, but not surprised.
Able to see beyond the police officers.
And the shooting victim is being treated and released according to police, which is great news. The shooter, however, still at large. Police looking for that person and others involved. About 6 people, they're saying, involved in today's incident. Police doing their investigation right here. That SUV down there. Oh, we have new information.
That you were asking about this neighborhood, and I checked with some of the officers who work this neighborhood, and they said that there are occasions where if students from nearby schools are having issues, they can sometimes spill out onto the streets behind us here, and there could be fights that they've been called to in the past, is what the officers have told me. So I just wanted to clarify that and check on it. But this is an area where in the past we've had calls, and I don't have that number, where students or young people have been engaged in some type of fighting.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it from Madison Police Public Information Officer Joel Despain saying that this has become a problem area. We are about a block away from La Follette High School. Teenagers from that school coming over to this area and engaging in some violent behavior. We had other people, other neighbors saying that they're using drugs in this neighborhood as well. So something that is becoming more of an issue and more of a spotlight for the district and police. And as they continue their investigation, we'll continue to keep you updated on channel3000.com. And Mark, I'm sure we're going to have live updates here at the 4, 5, and 6 as well. I'll send it back to you.
Absolutely. Keely Arthur reporting live from a shooting on the east side, not far from La Follette High School. Let's go to Rose Schmidt now. She is at La Follette to see how that school responded. Rose?
Mark, we're actually standing in the cemetery right next to La Follette High School, and you can see there is still quite a lot of activity going on over there. There are lots of parents there, and they're trying to pick up their kids. As you can imagine, quite a scary situation for these parents. And we've seen quite a lot of Madison police cars on the scene here. But the Madison Metropolitan School District sent out a letter to parents just an hour ago or so and told parents that currently the building is safe and there is no threat to their students at this time. They only took some precautionary measures because the incident happened just a few blocks away from the school here. And I just talked to the coordinator of school safety and security, and he tells me that if parents are here to pick up their kids, then they can go. Obviously, they were keeping the students inside while this incident was taking place, but he said if the parents come to pick them up, then they are welcome to do so. He says this incident happened out in the community and referred me back to Madison Police Public Information Officer Joel Despain, who you just heard from. And we just actually also checked in with the school district, and they tell us that school is going on as normal at this time, but they've obviously taken all these measures as precautionary measures because the incident happened north of the school just a few blocks away. And with that, I'm going to send it back to you, Mark.
All right, Rose Schmidt reporting live from La Follette High School. Thank you very much. We'll have updates throughout the day at channel3000.com and on later newscast. And we'll be right back. Has apologized for inappropriate comments to 3 female lawmakers after a Republican caucus event in Wisconsin Dells. Assistant Republican Majority Leader Rob Brooks said in a statement that he made, quote, some stupid comments while under the influence of alcohol and has apologized for his actions. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel said Brooks told Representative Jesse Rodriguez that he was buying drinks for everyone except her because she's Hispanic. The newspaper said Brooks made sexual comments to Representatives Cindy Dukow and Amy Loudenbach The women reported the remarks to the Assembly's chief clerk and asked him to speak to Brooks. In a statement released by Speaker Robin Vos, the female lawmakers characterized the remarks as inappropriate and offensive. The nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court appears to be moving ahead even before the woman accusing him of sexual misconduct in the past testifies before the Senate. Tomorrow, 11 Republican men on the Judiciary Committee will yield all questions to Arizona prosecutor Rachel Mitchell. Democrats slammed the GOP decision and says Dr. Christine Blasey Ford is not on trial. Democrats have also called on the FBI to look into the allegations of sexual misconduct before they move forward with Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation. Senator Chuck Grassley has scheduled a vote for Friday morning in the Senate Judiciary Committee to pass Kavanaugh's confirmation on to the full Senate. President Trump took aim at Iran again today as he chaired his first meeting of the UN Security Council. Trump led a meeting of the United Nations' most powerful body Wednesday to discuss the non-proliferation of nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. The president also lashed out again at Iran.
The Iranian regime exports violence, terror, and turmoil. A regime with this track record must never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon.
In response to President Trump's comments, Iran accuses the U.S. of violating the rules of international law and state obligations by withdrawing from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Well, there's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, a cool and partly cloudy day across most of our area. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield will have your first alert forecast when we come back. From the threat of severe weather yesterday to fall.
Yes, it really does feel like fall outside, and the clouds are on the increase this afternoon. Visible cloud track showing that we're not expecting any rain from these clouds, but an upper level trough moving through, going to cloud us up just a little bit this afternoon. Doppler track will stay quiet today. That may not be the case tomorrow. And remember, yesterday we had about a ½ inch of rain come through Madison, and some spots were a little bit closer to an inch as that cold front came through. It was really raining at times. Not today, though. Downtown Madison looking calmer with the Edgewater Skycam showing those partly sunny skies. And again, we're really not looking at the warm temperatures today. We are in the upper 50s, and really, I think the best that we're going to get today is the low 60s for highs, 63 in Janesville, 58 also in Lone Rock. Look at these temperature differences, about 10 to 15, in some spots close to 20 degrees cooler than this time on Tuesday. Our high temperature trend is going to stay pretty chilly over the next week or so, with some days like Friday and Saturday, we're not getting out of the mid 50s for highs, folks. Then some more 70s could be in store, but the low temperatures are going to stay pretty consistent in the 40s and 50s with one exception. Saturday morning, we could be in the upper 30s, and we could see some patchy frost in some spots. Now, we already have seen a patchy frost on the 22nd of this month, which is last Saturday. So it could be something about Saturdays where we get a little bit of patchy frost in southern Wisconsin. Our average first frost date, though, is the second week of October, October 11th to be more specific. Our fall color report with these tumbling temperatures is going to start getting more populated. We've actually had our first county in southern Wisconsin get to about 50% of that fall leaf color. That is Crawford County. Future track showing quiet conditions for today. We'll see those clouds dwindle into this evening and tonight. Temperatures starting off in the mid 40s on Thursday. Then clouds will be back with us. Some scattered showers possibly developing in the afternoon, and some additional showers possible later on Thursday into Friday. We're starting off Friday in the 40s before some additional showers are possible. So these nuisance showers look to set up over the next couple of days, namely on Thursday and Friday afternoon. But Saturday, even though it will be cool, we should be at least in for some sunshine. Then as we head into next week, more rain chances, but also a couple of chances to get back to near 70 degrees for highs. So the warm temperature is not exactly done yet, but over the next couple of days, it's really feeling like fall across southern Wisconsin.
This is the old game of how cold does it get before you turn the furnace on?
Exactly. You got to hold out as long as you can.
Just put on some sweaters.
Yes.
All right, Dave. Thank you. There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, honor flights are a great way to pay tribute to veterans, but one flight is making history. The story behind it next at noon. An all-female honor flight is back in Nebraska. Those on board spent the day touring the landmarks in Washington, D.C., dedicated to their service. Anastasia Champ tagged along with the 133 veterans.
Greeted with cheers and plenty of thank yous. Around 135 female veterans made history Monday in our nation's capital.
I don't think I could put a limit on how much fun it's been, because it's just, I'm just that speechless that it's just amazing to have the opportunity.
The women all served in the military and fought in wars dating back to World War II.
Some of these women have been through a lot over the years and have really laid the foundation for us to get to serve and to be treated the way that we were treated.
But because women could not be drafted, these women make this honor flight the only one exclusively with veterans who chose to serve.
It makes me so thankful to get to live in a place that we have the freedoms to get to serve our great nation and with all of these incredible women.
Memorial after memorial, the nonstop day showed veterans just how big of an impact even they made on the freedom in the United States.
Oh my goodness, we've been honored all day long, and it's been so fun, unnecessary, but so fun.
With all female vets, many say they're thrilled to be around strong women.
It's just amazing to see and hear what some of these women have been through and their stories that they're able to tell.
Everywhere these women went, they were greeted with appreciation.
Nearly every person involved in the honor flight was female. The veterans, volunteers, journalists, and even the flight crew, all women. The only men on the trip, the bus drivers. Very emotional experience for them. Indeed.
Absolutely.
And I'm very emotional about this weather. I love it cool.
It's a little bit up and down, especially over the last couple of days. So some of us may be a little bit under the weather, but temperatures are under 60 degrees in Madison, in the mid-60s in Janesville. This afternoon, highs only getting into the low 60s, variably cloudy and chilly, and starting off tomorrow in the mid-40s.
Well, that's a postcard out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here at 4. Have a great afternoon.